I would like to start this episode with a very big thank you to listener Thomas Driscoll. Many, many thanks to you, Thomas, for providing a copy of the 5th and 7th edition of the Necron Codexes, which I will be using for future episodes of Oldex. So when their time comes, you can thank Thomas. I won't be reading them immediately, as there are a few other armies I feel I should cover before doing Necrons once again. I would like to not double up too often, too close together. So, the next codex will be Codex Eldar, 3rd edition, requested by Tom of the very excellent 40 Curious podcast. Go and check that out, because it was my appearance on his show, along with my voice acting on the Narrative Wargamer podcast YouTube channel, which gave me the sufficient kick up the anus to resuscitate this podcast after too long a hiatus. Thank you once again to Tom Driscoll. You really are the king of the Master Blaster 10,000s. Armageddon Profiles. Codex Armageddon. Written by Andy Chambers, Jervis Johnson, and Gavin Thorpe. Pages 8 and 9. Narrated by R.J. Bailey.
Today will be a day long remembered by history. What we do today shall send a message across the stars and down through the years to our descendants for 100 generations. If we should falter in our task, terrible shame will be borne by our successors. Another age of darkness shall shroud mankind from the light of the Emperor. But should we succeed, we shall be as a burning torch in the gloom of evil, a spark of hope in the midst of despair. So, brave warriors of Savlar, stand fast and be not afraid. We shall strike like the holy arrow at the heart of the orcs. We shall be a blade of deliverance for the people of Infernus. So board your tanks with the Emperor's blessing. Load your guns with prayers in your heart. Strike down the foes of humanity with joy and vigour. The Emperor is with us. Who can stand against us?
Colonel Gortar of the Savlar Chemdogs at the relief of Infernus Hive. Archimedes. Imperial scholars have so far only been able to speculate about the presence in Warlord Ghazghkul's retinue of the technical genius whom they have dubbed Archimedes. Although the individual has not been identified, his handiwork has been reported many times on Armageddon. The teleporters used on the Orcs' fortresses, the giant submersibles used at Hell's Reach and Tempestora, the deadly up-gunned Gargants in Ghazghkul's horde. All of these indicate the presence of an alien mechanician of terrifying ability, one who is being actively sought by agents of the Officio Assassinorum. Warlord Ghazghkul Mag Uruk Thraka. Ghazghkul is that most dangerous of Orc leaders, one with both drive and ability in abundance. A serious head injury in his youth awoke visions from the Orc gods, which have led him on a bloody path of conquest, unmatched in recent history. He has returned to Armageddon after decades of planning and testing Imperium forces, and has succeeded in unifying dozens of Orc tribes and even contingents from several Orc empires. If Armageddon falls, Ghazghkul could unify Orcs across the entire segmentum into an unstoppable warg, which might threaten Earth itself. Commissar Yarrick. Commissar Yarrick had already enjoyed a long and distinguished career when Ghazghkul first invaded Armageddon. After being banished to Hades High for contradicting von Strab's orders, he masterminded a brilliant defense which stopped the Orcs in their tracks. Although badly wounded, Yarrick survived the battle. He retired for a short while, but returned to active duty once it was clear that Ghazghkull was still alive. For the last 40 years, he has been relentless in his pursuit of his old foe, and has now returned to Armageddon to command the Imperial defense of the planet. Admiral Parol. Parol was the second son of the Imperial commander of Lostan, and as a result, his career in the Imperial Navy was virtually guaranteed. Because he was raised to command from an early age, he has a natural authority which few dare to challenge. He has proved himself in countless campaigns, and is renowned for the careful marshalling of the resources at his disposal, as well as being a patient and meticulous planner. It was these qualities which led him to being promoted to his prestigious position in command of the fleet defense of Armageddon. You have been listening to Armageddon Profiles, Codex Armageddon, pages 8 and 9. Codex Armageddon was written by Andy Chambers, Jervis Johnson, and Gavin Thorpe, and narrated by R.J. Bailey. Thank you to Andy Chambers, Jervis Johnson, and Gav Thorpe for writing the fiction I grew up with. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a review where you found it, or like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, depending how you're listening. And why not get in touch with Black Library and tell them you'd quite like me to narrate one of their audiobooks, because I certainly would. This production, like all of Oldex, is entirely unofficial and uncommercial. From an out-of-print publication, is a derivative work, with all copyrights owned by Games Workshop, and is a celebration of the hobby and lore I grew up with. If you have suggestions for other old Codex fiction for me to narrate on this podcast, you can comment, contact me on Twitter @RJBailey, or email robertjbailey@gmail.com. Links are in the show description.